Hey everyone, I just wanted to come on here really quickly and give a quick update on some stuff that's going on in California. I've been talking about, and I know people are going to be jumping on here, so I'm not going to be able to answer any questions. I'm just going to go through this really quick and then get off here because I do have to get back to work. So I'm going to do a couple other videos on short little pieces answering questions that I've gotten, but just that's a different video. So right now it's really important that everybody knows that a court case has been started, a lawsuit against California for to abolish three the bills, I guess, or motions that are in place right now, stopping the federal government from coming into California and basically taking it over. And so this is, I guess, being looked at right now. My husband works in ag, so I'll ask him, is there anything going on, or do you know about this ag, or your like employer is talking about it? And he said, I haven't heard anything. And so I guess he asked one of the guys, he was like, we showed up to the, I guess, cherry fields, and like ICE was there, and ICE is the like La Mira, okay, and so I guess they showed up, and then one person called the other person, hey, like immigration's here, ICE is here, and they're just hauling the farm laborers away. And I know that if you're a legal immigrant, if you like, they're this has been going on for a year. If you have any debt at all, if you have anything unpaid, any court fees, unpaid registration, and you go into the DMV to try and do anything to renew your license or to even pay it, they won't even give you an opportunity to pay it or fix it. They're just sending people out of the state. So it's super crazy. And I have friends, their family members they've gone into the DMV to renew their driver's license, do whatever. They have some stupid thing for $30. They didn't even let them pay them right there. They're just like, you're gone. And so this is going to be happening. And I think like it's important for me to say that this, because of what's going on, is so polarizing. I think everybody who watches this channel recognizes that it's like we're in a polarizing time. We have this President Trump character that we've been given, and we had this I see the Clintons and Obama as being like one entity. And there's a photo, I've mentioned it before, at our post office, and it's Bernie Sanders, the Clintons, and Barack Obama, all four of them, and they're like at some sort of convention, and there's like the curtains behind, so they obviously stood in front of these curtains to take a picture, and they're just all like happy go lucky friends. And so and we know now that if the Clinton Foundation hadn't tampered with the elections, that Bernie Sanders probably would have been our president. But you have to think about, I used to watch the YouTube channel for the White House religiously every day, because there was just tons of hidden messages like through everything. It was undeniable. I mean, you'd just be blown away. If you knew what to look for, you would just be blown away at the things that they were saying. And it wasn't a hidden message. He came directly, like when Barack Obama was the president of the United States, he came directly out, and he said, if you are in this country and you are here undocumented and you are living in the shadows, you're coming out of the shadows. And that's what they just kept using this term, like anybody that's in the shadows is being brought out of the shadows. And that's why they have the DACA. You hear them talking about DACA all the time, because they want these, like, the dreamers and the people who want to come to America for a better life to have the opportunity still. So, but I guess it's gotten so out of hand that now they're just like arresting people. And there's these sanctuary cities, like San Francisco is a sanctuary city. I just hadn't even looked up to see the nearest sanctuary city where I live. But because I live in the San Joaquin Valley, we supply, I think it's like 90% of the world's food supply, when you include like dairy, meat, all these types of things. And it's like, I think it's 75% of the world's produce. So everybody's, on the news, on every avenue of news, it has just been about California's ruining the country. They're threatening the sovereignty of the United States. I mean, like, it's super, super crazy. But what you don't understand, like a lot of people don't understand, is this is a plan that has been in place for a long time. We've been monitoring it and watching it, and I've just been telling my husband, like, he finds it hard to believe it. I'm like, listen, they are going to come through here and start taking away the people who pick our food. And right now, just so everybody knows out there, in like the rest of America, that it's like about $15 an hour to pick, to work in a field right now. Because the illegal immigrants most of them already left, like the ones who were scared or whatever, they took off. But so anyways, I don't want to get too far into that. We supply a lot of the food, and so what's going to happen is they want the people who are like on assistance programs, like on welfare, and who get food stamps, or who get like California, it's so expensive to live here, but we have a ton of assistance programs, and a lot of people take advantage, and but they have special programs put in place for farm laborers and stuff like that. So if they yank all of that and they don't have the farm laborers, and you have all these people that are taking money and not working, who do you think is going to go to work? Like, I know people that are like, yeah, you know, they think like, get rid of these, you know, all these different things. Like, I saw this lady freaking out over a dove, because the dove that had a nest on this guy's porch, she was like, oh, I love this dove. Look, this dove made a nest on my porch. And I'm like, really into this dove. And then she's like, that dove's not even from here. It's from Mexico. And I'm like, shit, man, the doves too? Like, there's no way, you know? It's getting so bad. But this isn't a Trump issue. And I know some people want to think it's a Trump issue because they feel like this is some sort of like feat against, I don't know, some sort of enemy that I don't know how they think that the drug cartel doesn't work in the fields. Like, that's not who's working in the fields, you know? And so you kind of got to think about that kind of stuff. But so being somebody from the San Joaquin Valley, I can tell you that I mean, most people are cool with all the farm laborers and the Hispanics around here. It's not like, I don't know, they make it sound like it's like that movie East LA everywhere, but it's not. And I mean, I buy my tamales from the guy in the parking lot, you know what I mean? So I trust them enough for that. And so that's what's going to happen. Super crazy. You know, when you think about it, when this country was built, the people that worked the fields were white people and the Native Americans. That's who was sort of taken into these traveling labor camps. So my great-grandmother was Native American and half English, and it was called Black English. And her family, they were sent from camp to camp, farm laboring camps. And then my grandfather is like a story. He traveled like across horseback to find my grandmother, whatever, and he found her in California, so they stayed here. So... but even getting further into that, like just to demonstrate the rhetoric that's going on, right? The grapes of wrath. Yeah, that's when a lot of people came over here. And so, but just to kind of demonstrate what's kind of been happening is we've been watching it, and it's just, this isn't a Trump thing. This is the hand that controls. When you look into Deborah Tovares, like, look into that lady. If you think she's crazy, look at the date. Look at the date of her videos, the plan to burn up Northern California. That is real. She came on years before it happened, and she said these emails were intercepted, and they said they were going to use these to renaturalize Northern California for Agenda 21. And these DEWs are directed energy weapons, which is what Dr. King, Jeff M. King, you look him up, what he talked about way back in 2001, 2002. Deborah Tovares is her name, but you can, it's called stopthecrime.net, and you can research her work, but she is solid. I was watching her work the other day, and I was like, oh, this lady must just break down and cry sometimes, because I mean, it's like, I know the feeling where you're like, this, and people are just like, meh. Like, they just like they don't get it because it's so far-fetched, but reality isn't determined by the scope of people's perception of it. I mean, there's more to it than what we know, right? And I don't understand how people don't know that. But, so she actively attends city hall meetings. So she came before the city hall and said, like, watch this video, please visit the website and see what I'm telling you. And they are going to burn up this county, and they would not listen, and they made fun of her and all this stuff, and she continued and pressed forward. And then before you know it, I mean, look up how many fires. It was like 60 something fires. So people, look it up. This is your community, and you should still be going to these meetings, because there's a bunch of people there. There's people that are like in metallurgy and things like that, and they'll bring a steel bowl that's black, and then bring like their melted aluminum stuff. They're like, this is this is what happens. And that's why, I don't know if you know how lasers work, but I recently looked into how lasers work because I was like looking for that little dark spot thing that takes off like the dark spots. And so I was looking into that. And then I was remembering Deborah Tovares. So I found if you just like how lasers work on YouTube, and they go over all these different materials. So you set the laser to basically vaporize, I'm gonna run my battery so I can hurry, vaporize whatever you're doing. And then so if you were to do lead pencil on a piece of wood, you could set it just to pulverize the pencil, and you would just go straight over the wood, and the lead would just blast up, and the wood would be fine. So does that make sense? A lot of people were talking about these houses are melted all the way down to the ground, nothing left, no stone countertops, no appliances, nothing, but yet you've got the trees are still standing there like some paper on the ground. Like, does it remind you of anything? Melted building, some piece of paper comes down. Oh, look, a piece of paper and all this explosive stuff. 9/11. So it's just, I was on the phone. I talked about this before. I was on the phone with a friend when these fires started in Santa Barbara. Within a couple of minutes, I was on a conference call with people. And they're just driving. They said there was electrical fire. It was a gigantic blue blast. And then the sky went completely black. And then it was just chaos, no power. So, and then they said that the both fires started at the same time, and then a wind pattern swirled them together to make one super fire. The Thomas Fire was a super fire. Do you remember? And what did they say? They said that the fire started. To this day, none of those fires in Northern California or Southern California have been explained. They don't know. With all their forensic evidence, they don't know. Joe Rogan was talking about one of his friends was a firefighter there, and he said there's like the fire. His friend was like, "It's just insane. Like the fire, you couldn't put it out. It was too hot. It was just so hot, you could not put it out." So, and that's the same thing with the Thomas Fire and all those fires that started at the same time, and the electrical smell, like everything that was going on. And you have to understand that the company that owns these directed energy weapons own Weather Central. They own Weather Central, the Rothschilds. They own Weather Central. Because we were sitting around watching the whole thing, like trying to do our own, like wrap our minds around these fires and what's going on. And I'm like, man, it's almost like whoever started these fires understood the weather patterns that they were going to sweep into one. The only reason I even thought that was that someone had come to my friend that day and said, "Hey, don't you think it's weird? You know, they're saying they're going to do these terrorist attacks, and they're specifically targeting Santa Barbara." And my friend was just like, "Oh yeah, and then like was like that night or whatever, he's on the phone, freaking out or whatever." So this all has to do with what's coming. So just think about that. Where I'm at right here. 75 to 91, depending on what it is, percent of the food supply. When all the countries in the world stopped selling beef, and when Japan had to stop selling beef, and they cannot get beef from Australia, they have to get it from here. They would come to Harris Ranch Beef here in Selma to do inspections and walkthroughs of the plant where their beef was being processed because of mad cow and because of this pyron disease, which now they're saying they're finding in like the white-tailed deer and all these different deers, and they're saying it might cross over into the species barrier like mad cow did. Alzheimer's disease is mad cow. They'll say on the news, "Oh, we haven't had confirmed cases of mad cow." My former assistant, her name's Renee Walker, who I had working for me, her aunt died of mad cow that had an autopsy. And she used to call the news place and be like, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that your newscast was wrong, that my aunt died of mad cow, and we had it done." And they were just like, "Okay, thanks." They didn't want to hear it. So it was my husband's job, and I asked my husband if I could share this. He said yes. It was my husband's job to hide the equipment from the Japanese people that flew here from Japan to make sure that they're not using the head splitter to open the cow's heads, and that they're not doing anything with the brain stem or the spinal cord or anything. They're not supposed to touch it or anything. So they have the equipment that does all that stuff. So it was my husband's job to like sanitize it, and all these people came, like clean it, do whatever, and then put it away and make sure it was hidden from these Japanese people that used to come through. And so, I mean, think about it. You have to think about what happened in Europe. In Europe, they it wasn't just like mad cow came out of nowhere. What happened was they changed their testing procedures, and then when they changed their testing procedures, they found that it was a huge percentage of their you remember, it was a huge percentage of their cattle, all kinds of sheep and everything, had the damn disease. And you can't kill it. You cannot kill it. So the reason they don't have a lot of autopsies in regards to mad cow is because an autopsy or laboratories, they don't even want the shit in their labs. They don't want it in there because they can't get rid of it. They don't want the contamination. So you can't heat it up. You can't use bleach. You can't use alcohol. There's no sanitization to get rid of it. It's a pyron. It basically like eats your brain and turns it into like a sponge. And And so America refused to change their test because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and our beef here in America tastes a certain way, the Angus beef, and so it's just a huge industry. So instead of changing the test or not using that machine, like they're not supposed to use it at all, but the Japanese people had stopped all imports of beef coming from the United States, and it was a huge trade issue, and so, they were coming over and like touring the facility. What's the stream about? Is there a title? I don't know. So that my point in the talking about the beef is that all of the majority of the world's food comes from right here, where ICE is not supposed to be actually acting. Basically, there's all kinds of bills in place right now that stop the federal government from taking California over. There's 3 bills that were put into place. One, making it so if the Department of Homeland Security sets up shop here, that the local government would be in charge of it, not the federal government. That's one of them that they want to get rid of, so that the federal government can come in and take over operations as far as enforcing immigration. And so there's a whole bunch of different stuff. There's 3 main ones that were put into place that if you were to read them, just as a citizen at all, you just kind of, that definitely affects all of us. Like here in California, there's, I don't know if you can even see out my window. No, you can't because the way the light is. There's a huge field across the street with like every plant you can think of. And there's strawberry fields on every corner. There's oranges everywhere. The good oranges that taste good come from California. The ones they use just for juice and stuff like that come from Florida. So like the good oranges, they ship over there to mix with the Florida oranges to make them taste good. Sunkist is here in California. And our almonds, we have almonds trees. I have a friend who has a little house down the way, and it has, I think we counted like 8 or 9 different edible fruit producing plants it had on the property. And we call it Jen's Eden because it's like grapes. I live on a river by a bird sanctuary, so the whole place is lined with things that the birds can eat: berries, grapes, dinner table grapes, stuff like that. So when you have like the whole nation getting behind a movement to somehow like bash California or punish people in California, it's crazy to me because like it's going to affect us, but not in the same way that it's going to affect the other people in the country, because you guys, it's people that live in the snow, people that live where there's like, hard ground, or they've got like, whatever it is that they can't farm or whatever's going on. There's only so many things you can grow in so many places. California grows everything. So, everything except orchids. I can't get orchids to grow. What the hell? But seriously, I just worry. Like, I'm not worried, but I just think about like, wow, what will the rest of, what will the rest of the country do when we're not shipping these goods out because they've rotted on the vine? So my husband, his people show up to work on some equipment at this cherry field. There's no one harvesting. Like, you guys understand what that means? For instance, my cousin has a cherry tree, and we have to pick it. Like, she knows the exact day that you pick the cherries, because the birds will wait until the cherries are their sweetest, and then you'll, like, in 2 hours, they're gone. Like, all the cherries are gone. The birds will just come take them all. And so you can't just leave their fruit on the vine in the field. Like, we're getting ready to have big storms and stuff here. So it's a ghost town, and they're trying to find they're not finding any non-immigrants to work in these fields. It used to be like the Italians and the Irish people worked in the field. Like, now it's like they just like they think that all these people that are like they think all the people that are on assistance are gonna go over and start working in the fields. I asked, I have a family member that's on a lot of assistance, and I mentioned to them several times, $15 an hour. You want to go work in the field, you can. They're like, hell no, I ain't working in no field. So you're like, okay. It's like, I'm not saying you have to or you should. I just want to know if you would, But so that's what's going on. I'm going to come on a little bit later and talk about the Franklin cover-up. But mainly right now, in regards to this Agenda 21 stuff that's happening right now in California, it is related to all this ICE. Everything's connected. Like, that's what I have. You could never verbalize it. Certainly, I guess because it's like if you need to verbalize it, then you shouldn't, I guess. But you couldn't anyways verbalize it all in a sitting, because Every conspiracy that you've ever heard, no matter which way it's going in, all comes back to a central point. So they're all related, sort of like religions. All roads lead to Jesus. If you do not understand that on a basic scale, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, all roads lead to Jesus. And all, follow the beast. That's how it goes. So if you know my channel, you know about that. But that's this. It's the same thing with everything that's going on with this invisible hand that's controlling. Everything goes back to that central core. But right now, I think what a lot of people, it's close to their heart, and so I am going to talk about it very soon, is the Franklin cover-up. In the meantime, I would say check out Deborah Tovares, the plan to burn up Northern California, and with the directed energy weapons. Just look at I think it was the Santa Rosa fires. Just go look at the fires. People, just regular people, just driving through with their phones. Just look at the fire, woo, woo, woo. And you can just look at it. You don't have to have any dictation or anything like that. You don't need a director's verbal or anything like that. You just look at it for yourself and just decide if that looks like a normal house fire to you. And then make sure you look at the specs to how long it took to burn, how long it took to put out, and how many fires started overnight in one place. And then you can go look at the Agenda 21 map and see that the actual place that they were planning on renovating for the Agenda 21 is everywhere that was on fire. And now they're making it so they found some Native American stuff. So horse wearing, I don't know what that means. Sorry. So you can actually see they've pulled out Native American archaeology discoveries, and so now they're going to zone it as a reservation. So nobody will be able to. A lot of people won't be able to rebuild their homes where they were before, and then there are other people who they had in the Red Cross tent. Like as soon as they went there for aid and help. Ways to set up for you to get a new house loan or new home loan. Of course, you're not going to get the kind of house you had before because things have changed, and you're not going to be able to afford that anymore. So people had to and so that's like a big thing. But check out the Deborah Tovares. Check it out. It's one of those things where she came out and she said XYZ is going to happen, and then XYZ happened, and the people in the city hall just from like 4 days ago, they're just like. You're like, oh my gosh, like they won't even stop to even try to fathom it or look into it. You can tell it's just like all the people that were like, hey, in like 3 days, man, the Reich is going to come in here and Hitler's people are taking over this whole place, man. All these businesses are going to be owned by the government in 3 days, and people said you're crazy. That's not going to happen. And then 3 days later, Hitler. So. People said that 9/11 was going to happen, and nobody listened, and then 9/11. So a lot of people like to talk a lot of different things about like conspiracy theories or like whatever, but JFK is dead. There was a conspiracy, and there was a conspiracy to take down the towers no matter what. I mean, I guess it's just what conspiracy you choose to subscribe to. So, so I want to talk, because the Agenda 21 stuff has been going on. If you've been following my channel, I even talked about it in 2013 when they wanted this water supply from Yosemite, and they voted no. And the next day, it blew up. Like the whole thing blew up. Remember the fires in Yosemite? Deborah Tovares, thank you. So, Senche T, put that down there at 421. You missed it by a minute. Deborah Tovares. So check it out. But you can just look up the plan to burn up Northern California or stopthecrime.net. And you will find this stuff, but it is very real. And there's these 100 resilient cities in the country. So I would look up resilient cities and find out if your city is one of these resilient cities. Are you zoned for Agenda 21? Around here, Agenda 21 is known. They're like known as the trust, because it's like they have a bunch of trusts. They start these trusts, and then they go and get land, and they've got this land preserved under this trust. So. Also, Deborah Tovares go into this a lot, but in all the research that I've done about directed energy weapons since 2002, and that was directly from someone who worked at MIT to help create the first man-made vortex, and who helped develop the energy weapons that run on the UHF band. So it's very important for us to remember that the UHF band was cleared by AT&T in 2013. And they didn't give out a notice. They just shut your internet off. And then when you called to find out why it was off, they offered you a cheaper plan that they wanted to get you on, because you didn't have to get off the UHF ban if you didn't want to. And then the UHF ban goes all the way back. They found that frequency to go all the way back to ancient Egypt and the ancient technology. The UHF band was also part of the Montauk project at Lincoln Labs in Boston, used for creating a singularity. So they have, I mean, whether that's part of the Philadelphia experiment, so whether, you know, you want to, I'm not asking you to, for sure, I'm not saying believe in something, because you just need to just be taking in information. But that is so important to understand, the directed energy weapons, how they use them against Muammar Gaddafi. And he said from the very beginning, it's this huge mind control thing, you guys. Like, I don't want to get into it right now because it's a whole other show. But it's this huge mind control thing. And Muammar Gaddafi, he came out here, he's like, if I didn't know better, I would think somebody was coming in and taking my country over from the inside out. You know, he had his people fighting each other, you know, and they told us in 2013 that this was going to be coming to our country, whether you believed it or not. And they kept saying that same phrase again, soccer moms chopping their neighbors' heads off. Like, they just kept saying it over and over. I've talked about it so many times. And this is all relating to these school shootings. All of this is part of the school shootings. It's the game. It's the great game. I don't know how to explain it, but it's so intricate and multifaceted. I couldn't explain it to you all at once, but it's all related to the school shootings, and military operations, the Franklin cover-up. If you want to blow your mind, go watch Paul Benacci, or Benassi. It's Binacci, and the Senator John DeCamp. Nowadays, see, before you could read the Franklin cover-up book, if you could get your hands on some VHS, you could watch something like that. But now they have it, well, it's on YouTube. The deposition is on YouTube. You can watch it. And they're like reading off MK Ultra codes, because his gatekeeper personality won't give up the information. John DeCamp was given codes, and this is like a courtroom proceeding. And like, you can listen to the other people in the court. They're like, what? I mean, they can't believe what's going on. But Paul Benassi is the guy that kidnapped Johnny Gosch. Johnny Gosch was the first boy to appear on a milk carton. So his mother started the Foundation for Missing Exploited Children that does those children on the milk carton. So remember when I did my very first video at the post office and I was telling you guys about the kids that are on the wall that get abducted, and how many of them did not have white skin and not have light skin at all. Most of them were African American. They were black. They're Black Americans. And then you go and you look in the Franklin cover-up, most of the children, what they talk about is them sacrificing all of these dark brown babies. So really crazy stuff, and really upsetting. If you're like a sensitive viewer, just don't watch it. Maybe just catch like the gist of it. But it's because it was a court deposition, it didn't seem too it wasn't too detailed or traumatizing. It was more of just like they're trying to understand. But anyways, in that court case, the judge ordered Lawrence E. King, who's known by Larry King, not the talk show host, to pay Paul Benassi $1 million. So the guy, check it out, the guy who kidnapped Johnny Gosch, the first milk carton kid ever, whose father was involved in the kidnapping, John Gosch. I'm reading your guys' comments as they're coming up, so it's so hard to keep my train of thought. I need to put something over my phone. But the judge awarded him, and he was also the first person to abuse Johnny Gosch. But the judge then awarded him $1 million. And then when Larry E. King got out of prison, he went straight to work for the Republican Party again. So not to be polarizing, I'm just telling you this is where he went. And my ex-husband grew up going to parties, military parties, West Point type parties, where the grown-ups would be upstairs doing whatever the grown-ups would do, and then the basement, the kids would hang out in the basement. And so he went to parties, he was going to parties like Chelsea Clinton and stuff like that. So, and what I'll get into, so that's how I was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and some weird nodule type places on the planet, was when I was married to my ex-husband. So, really, really crazy, because I had missing time at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So I've only had missing time twice that I can remember, and one time that I've talked about it before. I still to this day don't know if that girl was lying or like, I don't know. I was so young. I don't know, because someone did that to me. But it was all about St. John's, the St. John's cult. So knowing what I do now, and then against that. It's kind of crazy. So weird. But obviously kind of trips me out to this day. Yeah, so just, I mean, all of this is connected with this recent school shootings. I've talked about it before. They're getting everybody on these antidepressants, everybody on these psychotropic drugs, and they're going to pass a law that you cannot own a gun if you have a prescription for these psychotropic drugs. So there's your gun control right there. They don't need to really do anything. And that's why you have the organizations like the NRA, like they don't want to budge at all on that. And so, and they really won't give a reason. So that is what I have been perceiving. My ex-husband, like I said, his father was a West Point professor and Delta Force and all this type of stuff. And he was in the Iran-Contra, all these kinds of crazy things. And his stepmother is currently a colonel, kind of a scary lady. Yeah, he went to a private military school for a period of time. So when he came back, when I had met him, before I met him, and then after I met him, he would tell me that before, how he used to, it's 1999, 1998, I'm sorry, 1998, Ohio, right, Patterson Air Force is in Ohio. That's where they took all the Roswell crash stuff, supposedly. He was having fantasies. They wore trench coats, and they were really into the anarchist cookbook. And they would actually have these fantasies where he would tell me that he would, there was a hill, our school, I know I talked about my high school before, we had one of the first steel building projects in California. It was a big deal. So if the whole thing burnt down or whatever, like it would still be standing. And there were it was set up like a college, beautiful campus. And it had this gigantic hill. And so he would picture himself going onto the top of this hill in his trench coat with like all these guns and then shooting all the Christians in the head, watching their blood splatter on each other and on him. And then he would kill himself. And he would see himself falling to his knees on the top of the hill. It was a whole thing. Like, you're like, whoa. And then maybe 2 years later, Columbine happened. So we know that the MK Ultra program, the Monarch programming stuff, I don't really call it MK Ultra, it's kind of outdated, but the Monarch stuff, it's generational. It passes down through generation. That's why they call it Monarch, because the butterfly passes information down. So, oh, weird. So anyways, I'm starting to read comments, so sorry. So my phone's gonna die, but I just wanted to get you guys maybe like your gears turning a little bit to understand what's going on. It does not matter who is the president or was the president or anything. This plan has been in place for a long time. Way back in, the court case was in 96. I think 96, 93. So way back when all of this, like the school shootings and stuff I've talked about before, like they were doing these drills where I was in Bakersfield, like randomly on that day. It's kind of what snapped me out of the trauma of finding out about Newtown. I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Somebody's telling me, yeah, this drill team, this drills, like all these people coming in and out of my kid's school, and I'm just watching all this, and then I'm hearing on the radio that a school shooting is going on. So what does the government know? Do you see the gigantic thing they pulled out of the gym or the theater room, whatever it was, a freshman building of, they said Monarch as they're telling the story. I mean, it's just like, why would they even do that? Because you would think if they know that people know about Monarch program, that they would kind of get away from using that type of verbiage to not incite these conspiracy theorists, because there are like huge movements against people who talk about the school shootings, like that they didn't happen, they didn't die, or like whatever. You guys, these school shootings are happening. Okay, like it's not fake. It's not something that is made up. It's not actors or anything like that. And maybe the people you're seeing on TV are actors, but these people that are dying. Vegas, like people were hurt. Now, how were they hurt? A lot of people were hurt different ways. I wasn't there, but I'd never been to Vegas. I've been telling people for a while, don't be going to Vegas, man. Like the whole world's in turmoil, and we just like want to go to party in Vegas and go crazy and just like post it all over social media, and then like if I were a terrorist, I'd be like, what, F Las Vegas, and I would just bomb that shit too. So I get it. I was like, I don't want to go to Vegas. I'm cool. I don't need like that whole thing. People always tell me, oh, that's like your town. I always think when someone tells me that, they just like must not really know me that well. They think they know me. But so everything's all connected. I think most people that watch my channel by now know that Scott Paddock was an FBI agent, and that was like a Fast and the Furious operation gone bad, where the FBI tries to do these sting operations with weapons deals, arms deals, and then they go wrong because people find out that it's an FBI agent or whatever happens. They failed in the past. And what was kept out of the media, and I don't even know who knows this. I met a guy from JPL, and he actually told me this. He said that, because I said, what do you think about what happened with the Vegas shooting? Like, what I understand is XYZ. You know, this guy with the FBI, they were trying to catch these gun runners. They're trying to do all this stuff. He said, that's kind of, but that's sort of what happened. That's pretty good. It's pretty close to the actual story. And he just didn't know who I was. I just met him in passing, and he was a relative of someone I know. And so they just felt comfortable. He's like, I was a stupid girl. You know, I'm just gonna blabber on, look cool, or like look like I know some stuff. I'm pretty high up, you know. So I just let him go. And he told me that you saw the ambulances outside, and the hospital was going crazy, and the chaos was because they had stolen X-ray equipment from the hospital that was specifically going to be used for a dirty bomb. And so that is what was actually going on, is they were at all cost to procure that uranium, I think it was, some sort of radioactive material for a dirty bomb. It's very bad. Look them up. So, yeah. And, you know, so we have a lot of stuff going on right now. Just stay tuned, because I think that to really like understand a lot of things that are going on right now is you have to understand what happened with the Great Franklin cover-up. And what is echoed over and over and over again in the Franklin cover-up is that pedophilia and prostitution is not the true purpose of the Franklin, of this program that they had. So be thinking about that. We know, because we found it in 8th grade typing lessons, that this MK Ultra programming is in kids' school typing lessons. We've seen it. And just to understand that, like the Dollhouse, the television show The Dollhouse, if you can watch The Dollhouse, it's very similar. It's very entertaining, a crude version of what's really going on. But even through The Dollhouse, they just keep saying the same thing. The true purpose of the dollhouse is not prostitution. You must research and look into it and find the true purpose of the dollhouse. And it's the same thing with what happened with the Franklin cover-up and what happened with Project Monarch. Was the prostitution and pedophilia is not the true purpose of Project Monarch. And if you think that people were like doing satanic ceremonies and allowing like children that they didn't know, they didn't trust, that weren't in the order, like come in this ring and participate because they were trying to like do some magical thing with the devil, you are wrong. That is part of the mind control. That is what they do to make these people and these children believe that what is going on is bigger. It's so far out of control. It's in another realm. It's the devil. It's demons. It's all this different things. So that's part of the mind control, is to make earthling or people here feel like there's really truly nothing that they can do and that they can't get out because the eye can see them everywhere. And there's all this different mind control. So it's really important when you look into this stuff to understand that. Don't get wrapped up, because they want you to be like, oh God, these Satanists. That is what they want, okay? So, especially if you've been raised in church, like it's really evident that they want like everything is the devil, you know, Kathy Bates. So, sorry YouTube, I'm not supposed to like quote any whatever. But yeah, so that's pretty much, you guys just gotta look into it. It's too much to get into. I wish I could break it down. Sometimes I think, I want to write a book, but I don't know. I try to break it all down. It's so complex. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, I do a radio show or something. So, and even the Harvey Weinstein stuff, like I said before, I did a video and I was like, I'm watching out for this name Harvey, because they had Hurricane Harvey and then Hurricane Maria and Jesus right behind it. So something that's going on with the Hurricane Harvey is going to bring on this divine feminine masculine joining of energies. But I had no idea who Harvey Weinstein was. I'm in the music industry, not movies. So I just didn't know who Harvey Weinstein was. And so, so Hurricane Harvey definitely is bringing on an imbalance, which I think is going to usher in like a true balance between the male and female energy, whatever that means to you. But but one of the things that they say over and over and over again, if you watch the Harvey Weinstein stuff, is these violent assaulters. Oh, he's a violent assaulter. Oh, these violent assaults on women, you know. But and so I was like, wow, I keep hearing this. Like, I watch all these different news channels. Most people don't watch all the news channels because they're subscribed to a certain type of belief, and so they want to hear from those people, because people love people who throw stones at their enemies and justify their failures. Okay, so I was watching all of them and getting like a clear, like, wow, I keep hearing violent assaulter. Hillary Clinton said these violent assaulters, and I was like, oh my gosh. They're going to bring these pedophiles out, and they're going to say that these pedophiles are not hurting children. And that is what they're saying. That's what they're doing. And I think the Larry Nassar stuff was sort of like a soft open of that, where he's like, I'm not hurting them, you know, I'm providing service. And we'll talk about the Larry Nassar stuff on a different video, because I don't even for 1 second believe that story. And if you watch the impact statements, like the judge was just unbelievable. It was like so frustrating to watch. So, yeah, so they're going to definitely be coming forward and saying the pedophiles aren't harming the children. This is like NAMBLA too. They believe it's like a loving relationship, having sex with these children. And I read the text message between the girl that I had here at my home. It was connected to the house in Burbank from the Franklin cover-up. So all that stuff that I did with the FBI, human trafficking, and everything here in Vice was connected to that. So just think about it, because if you think you can't make a difference, or you need money, or you need something, just know that, like, I was just going on my merry way and found out about this via church, and like went home and like prayed on my face, like, God, this is real. If this is really happening, here I am. Like, I don't even care. Like, if this is really happening, there's really 27, now it's up to 36 million people a year going into human trafficking. This can't happen. And my life just changed from that day forward. And I didn't have money. All I did was I got like a download of information, and it wasn't like it told me what to do. I just remembered what I came here to do. And it was like very specific instructions. And it was to do the YouTube video and to talk about XYZ, even if I didn't want to talk about it. Even if I didn't even like subscribe to it or like understand it, it was just like, just go out and this is the information that you have. And so that's what I did. And she contacted me, and I got in touch with her family, and then she came here, and it led to this huge 3 years for the FBI and everybody to uncover it. But it was a huge sex trafficking ring where they had kids stacked in cages outside of a ranch in Los Angeles and everything. So we never hear about the people that pay. I mean, this is a booming business, like, you know, several $1,000s to, you know, to do what they're doing. So you're not gonna find the perpetrators or the Johns on the 5 o'clock news. So you're gonna find like the little people that they throw out as like the chum for the people to chew on for a little bit, and then, you know, that they just kind of sweep it under the rug, and then another wave will come. And so it seems like we're all being groomed. Because if you study pedophilia, you understand the grooming process. I'm like, they're trying to groom me. Like, they're trying to groom me for this, I can tell. You know, and they're saying, you know, like this violent assault, or now this Larry Nassar thing, he can't handle hearing the girls being upset and all this stuff like that. And how, basically, I mean, I think most of us notice, like, whenever they want to go after somebody or take someone down, there's like always child pornography on their computer. And I think, like, it's so easy to get child pornography on your computer, to get anything on your computer. But a lot of people that download porn download these large zip files, and they don't get to choose what's on the zip file. They just open it. So, and then he was doing videotapes. So it's like, well, for who? You know, if he was doing this like every day, many times a day, he wouldn't need to videotape it unless someone was purchasing it, or unless he was blackmailed into doing it. So there's all kinds of stuff about the Larry Nassar thing. So I'm a massage therapist, so when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, I've had injuries before, but there's like no way you could have gotten to that injury or made it better in any other way. So so there's that stuff, but it's all connected. I mean, if you see it in the media, it was just meant for you to see. That's all I can say. And it's presented to you in just that way. And this is one, it's like, I took like thousands of hours of marketing classes. So even though I was in marketing before, it's changed so much. And so now I'm starting to see this fresh perspective on how everybody else has been taught how to market. And I'm seeing it on every platform. And I see it the most for the media, but second in line would be church. I see it so much now. I understand like the hero's journey and how they hook people in. And if you're listening to someone's testimony or someone's statement or something, and you hear traumatic, visual, descriptive, sexual things or like violent things, those are triggers. They're triggers. And I even thought like maybe violent assault was a trigger, but they're triggers. They're meant to engage chemicals and enzymes in your body so that you get upset, and then in that upset you kind of fall into the next few things that you hear, and it's supposed to shape your opinion for the captive mind. I would hope that most of the people watching aren't a captive mind, but I know that's the 80% of the world or something like that. So, but yeah, so you guys, I'm gonna do a lot more. I want to talk so much about so much different stuff. I had some death threats come onto my YouTube channel mid-February, and I had to leave them up because it was the second serious death threat I got from this person, and so I just kind of gave it a break for a minute, and they're like doing all these investigations. I think he got arrested. So, which is crazy because I'll talk about that just briefly, but the girl that went to him to get him all worked up to make him want to murder me and tell him all these lies to make him want to actually kill me, she's the one that told me, don't take the video down about him, because I was like, I think I'm going to take it down because I think he's kind of messed up from the accident. And she was like, no, don't take it down. Whatever you do, don't take it down. And then she immediately went to him and got him all worked up. And then he wanted to murder me, and then she got scared because he wanted to murder me. He was making death threats, and then she told me to call the cops on him. And it was like, when it was all the dust had settled, I was like, oh man, it's so crazy. Like, wow. All over like jealousy because she's afraid that I'm gonna show back up at the studio and see. I don't care. Like, I'm not so desperate that I'm gonna go back to a place where I was treated like shit and she was treated like shit too. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna just to sing at home. I kick off my world tour every morning. I can go do karaoke, the same damn feeling. People are people, singing is singing. It's like music, crying out loud. So anyways, you guys, check out Deborah Tovares, The Plan to Burn Up California, StopTheCrime.net. Some other people have some good stuff. Scott Paddock being the FBI agent, and the Monarch. You watch the interview with the principal of the Broward County School. And they also mentioned the Pulse shooting. So I've just been recently telling people how the Pulse shootings were all connected to the Ark of the Covenant and all this different stuff that was going on. I mean, we walked outside. We were at the studio, and this guy's like, he walks outside and he was like, it's raining. There's no clouds. And we were like, wait a minute, we're not on any drugs. Hold on a second. So we go outside, we're like, whoa, there's no clouds. And it was just pouring rain and then hail. And it was like July or August, and it was like hail, whatever the night. And then I just want to throw in as much information as I can right now, because for people that have been watching my channel will understand it. The Pulse shooting happened. It was all of the sequence of events for using the device. They said they used the device. They didn't say what it was. They blew out the back of the building. At the same time, just a few hours earlier, Christina Grimmie, a YouTube star, was killed, which they never really explained how or why it happened. I, at the time, was saying that it was some sort of plan that was going into place that had something to do with Selena Gomez. I did not know. I said, it has to do with Selena Gomez. I don't know how. I just know that it does. Then I found out that her dad was actually in Florida, just like an hour or so away when Christina Grimmie was killed. And then now you're finding out that Selena Gomez had a bunch of donor body parts. And when Christina Grimmie was killed, Justin Bieber was on stage when it happened, and he just like fell to the ground. And so it's interesting. Just think about it, because also YouTube pulled monetization for and if you don't have monetization, that means that you can't, like, YouTube won't push out your videos. So like, even if I had, like, it was like a SEO to like get if I put it out to go to people who are interested in this topic, YouTube wouldn't push it out because they're not going to promote your video because of whatever. So Auntie Fee was like one of my favorite chefs, and I watched her. My husband and I watch her all the time. Her freaking Kool-Aid one is the best. Okay, tequila and Kool-Aid one is the best. Patron Kool-Aid is the best. But we used to watch them all the time, and it was like she suddenly died, and I think she was like maybe taken to Sinai or something like that, and I was like, ooh, Cedar Sinai Hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital. Anyways, she died, and then boom, YouTube, and she had gotten a plaque from YouTube and awards, and then it was like, boom, no more monetization. So her money would have just stopped flowing at that point. So there's a lot of weird things that we've been noticing about YouTube stars dying in weird ways, and there's that. And then I feel like there was one other thing too that I wanted. Oh yeah, like check out Jim Carrey lately. Go to a video and look at what Jim Carrey is going through and look at his art, because what he has to say isn't coming out of his mouth. What he has to say is coming through his artwork. And I'm not meaning like decode. No, there's writing in English. You can read it. And they killed his girlfriend and some other stuff. So look into it. So I'm just like a couple people removed from all these people and the rest of the country. They're looking at, and I didn't used to be because of my location. It's just because of my location I was able to weasel my way into a little bit of that business. Not so much the movie parts. My brother was in movies, obviously, if you know that. But gotten to know some of these people. And so it's just like, you know, you guys tear their asses up and say they're in the Illuminati and they're doing sacrifice and they're doing crazy stuff like Lady Gaga and stuff like that. And you're doing exactly what their controllers want you to do when you do that to them. You're punishing them in the way that they were meant to be punished by the people that you say are your enemies. So just make sure you know what you think you know before you go and throw the stone. But anyways, I love you guys. If you have questions, post them on this video or go to Rose of Sharon on Facebook. It's a free website. You can go in there and you can put people that they can talk to. And I just want to say, this is a journey that you're going to take alone. The hardest part about taking this journey is that when you try to link up with those